The post-tribulation rapture position is based on one basic principle, that the rapture will occur on the day of the Lord. This belief primarily originated with the famous rapture passage of 1 Thessalonians 4:16 and 17. There, the Apostle Paul described the church rapture in vivid detail, but he also mentioned its timing in chapter 5, with an apparent link to the day of the Lord in verse 2. The day of the Lord is described in many parts of the Old Testament, with a theme that repeatedly presents itself. The sun, moon, and stars will darken before that day comes. In Matthew 24:29, Jesus told his disciples that these particular celestial anomalies would not even begin to take place until after the tribulation. So if the sun, moon, and stars will darken before the day of the Lord comes, and these particular celestial events, according to Christ, won't even begin to take place until after the tribulation, then this at least proves that the coming day of the Lord is to be a strict post-tribulation event. This presents a major problem for pre-tribulation rapture advocates, because if Paul's intention was to carry the subject of the rapture timing into 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, it would suggest that Paul viewed the post-tribulation day of the Lord as the day that will finally usher in the rapture of the present-day church. In response, pre-tribbers completely disconnect 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 from the famous rapture verses. This is necessary in order for them to uphold their theory. Here's the problem. In chapter 5, verse 6, Paul then gives the present-day church the following instruction. Therefore, let us not sleep, as do others, but let us watch. If you insist that chapter 5 begins a new subject that only concerns the day of the Lord, and you insist that chapter 5 is completely disconnected from the rapture verses of 1 Thessalonians 4:16 and 17, then this requires you to conclude that what Paul is instructing the church to watch for is the day of the Lord. Of course, this would also destroy the pre-tribulation theory right on the spot, considering that the day of the Lord is scripturally proven to be a strict post-tribulation event. The immediate reaction of pre-tribbers is to try to convince opponents that Paul wasn't actually referring to the day of the Lord when he instructed the church to watch, but that he was now referencing the earlier rapture verses of 1 Thessalonians 4:16 and 17. But by trying to divert around the day of the Lord once more, they have inadvertently reconnected the famous rapture verses of 1 Thessalonians 4:16 and 17 to chapter 5, indirectly admitting that chapter 5 does actually concern the rapture. This is what I like to call the pre-tribulation paradox. In either instance, they are unable to escape chapter 5 and its implications. So what is the truth? The fact is, Paul never changed subjects in chapter 5. Here's why. Upon establishing the rapture doctrine for the church in 1 Thessalonians 4, Paul referred to the dead in Christ as those who now, keyword, sleep. The truth is, Paul returned to this metaphorical description of the resurrection and rapture far into chapter 5, into verse 10 in fact. Whether we wake or sleep, we should live together with him. This proves, without doubt, that chapter 5 had been fully connected to 1 Thessalonians 4:16 and 17 the entire time. Paul plagiarized the wake-sleep metaphor from the prophet Daniel, who had originally used this particular analogy in Daniel 12:2 to describe a post-tribulation resurrection of believers. Again, this shows that Paul did actually carry the rapture doctrine into chapter 5. He did this in order to mention its timing, and that he viewed the post-tribulation day of the Lord as the event that will usher in the rapture of the present-day church.